Hello everyone and welcome. Sit back, relax, and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for new stories from Yellowcat. Write your favorite stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Let's get started. Reddit. Have you ever fired someone and had them go completely crazy? My job is as a lifeguard at a swimming pool. I was not in any kind of supervisory position at the time, but I had been working there for close to 4 years without receiving any kind of promotion. One day, my boss finds a new girl, whom we can refer to as Jay, and immediately promotes her to the position of senior guard, which is equivalent to the position of boss among those who are not managers. I was disappointed that I was not selected for the position. However, I understood that they required someone who could work more frequently because I was attending school. On the other hand, Jay was under the impression that I detested her and she would go out of her way to assign me tedious tasks. Her way of getting back at me was to do this. Well, everything would have been fine except for the fact that Jay was a slacker. She was consistently hours late. She refused to work due to cramps and beer-induced sickness, and the worst part was that she would steal from the register. She did not perform any of the tasks that were assigned to her position when she was employed there. I was the most senior employee there, so I had to make up for her shortcomings, and after a few weeks, my supervisor took notice of my efforts. It was important to her that she did not fire Jay because she did not want to upset her mother, who was also employed at the pool. Instead of going to work one day during the winter, Jay made the decision that she would rather sleep in full view of the customers. Apparently, one of the customers took offense to Jay's sleeping behavior and sent a video of it to my supervisor. Jay was terminated as a result of this. After Jay arrives at work the following morning, my boss begins to have a conversation with her in order to give her the old "we don't need you anymore" talk. Immediately after the word "fired" was spoken, Jay flipped out of his seat. She began yelling and screaming, accusing me of wanting her fired and that I was responsible for ensuring that it ended up happening. She then proceeded to smash our microwave, computer, and even the refrigerator into the ground. After that, she destroyed everything. When she had finished destroying everything that she could, she began to throw things at both my boss and me, saying things like, "We're the reason why the world is wrong." Immediately after calling the police, we had her escorted off the premises. On the following day, Jay's mother did not show up to work. Neither a call nor a resignation was received. On the other hand, my boss and I observed that our automobiles had been mysteriously keyed to H over the course of the following week or so, having the worst job experience ever. In a positive turn of events, I was given a promotion. Because my father is the owner of a construction company, I've witnessed and heard a few awkward, violent, and embarrassing moments. To begin, I would like to make reference to the fact that my father makes an effort to be very understanding and give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Before someone's fired, he almost always allows them to resign from their position. An example of this would be a framer who utilized our services. Because of his laziness, he would consistently arrive late and he would make mistakes in everything he did. As a result, we would have to redo everything, which would result in a waste of money. Following a string of errors and a significant amount of time missed from work, my father gave him a few weeks to find another job. He was able to secure employment with a different company, but made the decision to remain in the area and construct a house for us during those few weeks. He built a house that was so messed up that we had to basically start over because he purposefully ignored the codes that were in place. I have no doubt that you were able to visualize how costly that was. Aside from that, we've had people throw boots and hammers at us, a number of tools, etc. It had been months since my boss had informed me that he was going to terminate the employment of one of my subordinates. They called the guy who's in his office, talk to him for 30 to 45 minutes, and then the guy leaves. The following morning, I find the individual working in a different area. My boss has informed me that we're going to give him a try in a different location. 2 to 3 weeks later, the boss informs me that he's going to fire him once more. It stated that he would like me to be a witness this time. I ought to have known that this would be a problem. The boss has informed the guy that it's not going to work out and that we should just part ways. The guy's staring at me directly. He's informed by the boss that he must exit the building immediately. The man has lost his S. It's then that he begins to yell at me at the top of his lungs. "You're the mother effer who did this! Mother effer, you prepared me to fail everything! This is a complete and utter sham!" It's likely that he noticed the complete and utter amazement on my face. The phrase, "do not effing act as if you did not want to get rid of me," is a piece of idiotic behavior. "You moved me to another department just so I could fail my ID test. Well, F you, a-hole. I'm aware of such games. What the H are you, you piece of S?" On the day in question, the uniform company had unfortunately delivered a large stack of shirts that were hung up on hangers. The individual in question grabs the stack of shirts by the hangers and then proceeds to throw the entire stack at me. It's as if they're flying over my head and destroying everything that's on the wall and shelves behind me. We had these staplers that were extremely heavy duty and could be used with one hand. They were almost like scissors, but they were much heavier. When I was ready to knock this guy out, I reached over and grabbed the one that was sitting on my desk. I was prepared to knock him out if he got close to me. When he sees me grab it, he stands up, grabs the door handle, and then, as he's leaving, looks at me and says, "You better hope I don't see your A outside, mother effer." As he leaves, he rips a bulletin board off the wall and effing destroys 2 desktop computers and monitors that are sitting on a desk. One of the workers had just placed an order for business cards, which are packaged in a box of 1,000. The box is sitting on the desk, and he hurls it across the room, causing 1,000 insignificant rectangles to scatter all over the place. Several months later, we continued to discover them buried beneath various objects. "Hi, name!" he exclaims as he approached the back door to walk to his car. This unfortunate employee, who's unaware of the situation, believes that he's just leaving for lunch by the time he reaches the back door. "Go F yourself!" After that, he exits the area. With a quick glance around, I notice that employees are rushing to the doors and locking them. During our conversation, one of them approaches me and says, "You're aware that he wears a .38 pistol on his ankle every single day, right?" I make a phone call to the police, explain what took place, and then I walk out to the front of the building to make sure that I see his car leave the parking lot. I wait for a few minutes, but I don't notice anything. Suddenly, I'm aware of a tap on my shoulder, and when I turn around, I am struck by the realization that he's standing there. "Hey man, no hard feelings, okay?" I was completely taken aback. I informed him that the police were close by and that he ought to leave. He shakes my hand and off he goes, never to be seen again. What is the silliest or the most craziest thing your HOA board or neighbors have ever done? The fact that one of the HOA board members was terminated from her position as a hospital administrator provided her with the opportunity to indulge in her petty jealousies regarding an assortment of matters. As an illustration, I received a notice from the HOA that was full of inflated language and threats of legal action during a week of non-stop heavy rain. The notice was about a weed in the front yard that had grown to exceed 3 inches in height. Did they get down on their knees in the pouring rain in order to take a measurement with a ruler? During his numerous business trips, my neighbor frequently listed his home for rent on Airbnb. That crazy member of the HOA board was frustrated by the fact that I was making interesting new friends from other countries with a significant number of the Airbnb guests. Therefore, the board of directors of the HOA implemented a punitive new rule that forbids my neighbor from listing his house while he's away on business trips, purely out of spite for me. These are just a few examples out of a virtually infinite number of others. A notice of a petition that purported to have been submitted by at least 1/3 of the residents of my subdivision and requested to be annexed by a subdivision that is adjacent to my land was delivered to me some time ago through the mail. As the sole landowner of the subdivision in which I reside, I promptly returned it and refused to have it annexed. This was a rejection of 100%, easily meeting the 5% threshold that's required for refusal. including a letter that informed the borough that this annexation was a fraudulent filing and that I, as the sole landowner of the subdivision, had not requested it. I informed the borough that I was the only person who had requested it. Sometime after that, I received a visit from the local representative of the HOA. In the beginning, the representative would not speak to me because he insisted that he needed to speak with my husband directly. Following the provision of the phone number of my ex-husband, who resides in Minnesota, the individual departed. About a week later, the man came back and asked to speak with the person who is currently serving as the man of the house. I'm gonna assume that he was referring to my renter, who is aware of this individual's arrival, and I thought that might be a fun idea. I yelled out to my tenant and then drove away while grinning and waving. Last but not least, the man lowered himself to have a conversation with a mere woman. He informed me that the covenants of the subdivision prohibited structures within 100 feet of the road, which meant that my greenhouse and livestock pens would have to be removed within 30 days of his first visit, which was approximately 30 days before, or else a daily fine of $100 would begin to accumulate. He also presented me with a bill for my HOA fees, which appeared to have never ever been paid in all of the time, in addition to accruing interest, and now amounting to some tens of thousands of dollars. I've lived here for 35 years. After he had finally sputtered to a halt, I allowed him to continue to blather on. I let him know that I was not a resident of that particular subdivision, but rather belonging to my very own subdivision. In order to provide evidence, he requested to view my house papers. I informed him that it was not my responsibility to share my personal papers with him, and that he should go check the borough maps online. I also informed him that he was making it a habit to walk right past my cult members only sign, which was hung up by my children as a joke 10 years ago, which could be considered trespassing. For as long as I've lived here, our homeowners association has been a little shady. This has been the case. There are some homeowners who appear to have a grudge against the board members, and they're willing to do anything in their power to harass them. As a matter of habit, one of the members of the HOA board would sit outside the home of the homeowners for hours on end, solely searching for violations that would result in the homeowner being written up and fined. We had this guy trespass in our backyard, which caused my daughter a great deal of anxiety. However, we did not have a video of him, so we were unable to take any action. The member of the board was unaware that they had a camera trained on him throughout the entire time, including when the children were playing outside in the front yard. The recordings were handed over to the authorities by the homeowner, and the board member was taken into custody for the crime of felony stalking the previous week. It came as a surprise that there are not just 1, but 3 vacancies on the board, and new elections are scheduled to take place the following month. It just so happens that one of my neighbors is also a member of the HOA board and is a hobbyist drone pilot. Take into consideration that he was before he joined the board, but from this point forward, he updates the neighborhood app on a regular basis with pictures of friendly reminders regarding car parking violations and other related topics. To the best of my knowledge, I've not witnessed any fines that are associated with the use of drones. However, this does not mean that there have not been any. I just got back from a trip that I took with my wife and our child because it was a long weekend. My teardrop was in the street hitched up to my other vehicle, and I was getting ready to unload a few things before taking it back to storage, batteries, propane tank, etc. It was late in the evening, 11:30 p.m., and one of my vehicles was blocking the sidewalk because I was getting ready to remove the hitch rack. I have a 2-car driveway, which requires my van to be about 1 foot away from the garage in order to avoid not blocking the sidewalk. More than 30 minutes was the maximum amount of time that I intended to leave the sidewalk blocked or the camper parked in the street. You wouldn't believe it, but the drone came buzzing by to check out the rules that I was breaking, and I came out of the garage to give it a good look. As soon as it noticed that I was staring at it, it took off away from me. According to what I've read, the HOA is not allowed to use drones to levy fines. However, this is more of a nuisance than anything else. I had a feeling that this individual was going to lend his drone to the HOA in some capacity at some point in time. Update. So, there's good news. I talked to the neighbors about the drone. I found out that a lot of people are freaking out about it. I've developed this discussion, and now everyone's very negative about it. It's very uncomfortable to live with the idea that you're constantly being watched with this drone. At the next meeting, we asked him to stop using it. He took it very aggressively. It was a fierce altercation that eventually led us to removing him from the HOA board. He was also gently hinted, read threatened, that if he continued to follow us with the drone, he would be sued by all the disgruntled HOA residents. He shut up when he realized he had no power. Thank you for listening to these stories. If you want to see new videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the like button.